Hello, I'm Chris Sleight, the editor of International Construction magazine, and in this video we're going to look at this year's league table of the world's 200 largest construction companies. We're going to look at the top of the table, the big names of course. We're going to look at the big climbers, some of the companies that have fallen, and also looking back at a couple of years, we'll examine some trends in the industry. This is the top 10 from this year's top 200 table, and the first thing you can see is that there are an awful lot of Chinese companies. There are 5 in the top 10 and 4 in the top 5. These Chinese companies have got very big very quickly. The top 2 contractors have revenues of nearly $70 billion each. Now if you compare that to Vinci, which for many years was number 1 in the table, that's a company that's still grown, but its size is about $45 billion annual revenues. So that just goes to show how quickly the Chinese contractors have grown. So here we're looking at a list of some of the companies that have climbed the farthest up this year's rankings. Again, there are quite a few Chinese companies present making big leaps up the table, and there are also several Korean groups present with 3 major contractors in the list. Some of the other major climbers are from emerging markets. For instance, there's Larsen & Toubro from India and Aveng from South Africa. And this is a trend that's reflected all the way down the table. There are big gains and new entries for contractors from India, China, Brazil and Mexico. 2 surprising climbers are Pulte Homes and D.R. Horton, which are US house builders. Now this is a segment of the industry that is still in distress, but these 2 companies have bounced back from the low point last year. Although it has to be said, they're still a long way from their peak. These companies had both been inside the top 20 in the past. Now here's a list of some of the companies that have suffered the biggest falls down the league table from last year. One of the general things you can see here is that there are several general contractors from both the US and Japan, and I think the fact that 3 US contractors and 4 Japanese have fallen this year reflects the ongoing difficulties in those markets. Another trend that you can see is that there have been a few falls for some of the European contracting groups. What you're looking at here is a chart that shows how the top 200's revenues are split by contractors from different countries. China has the biggest slice for the 2nd year running, although its proportion of nearly 23% is not as great as that enjoyed by other countries that have dominated in previous years. For example, the US and Japan have been top in the past, and they've had shares as big as 24 or 25%. This year the US contractors have slipped to 3rd place overall, having been overtaken by a resurgent Japan, which has been boosted by growth in its house building companies. There are also reduced shares for many of the big European groups. Contractors from the UK, Germany, France and Italy, for example, have all lost a few fractions of percentage points. And the growth has come in many of the countries lumped together in the others segment, contractors from Mexico, India, Brazil, for example. What we're looking at here is revenues and profitability for the top 100 contractors. Revenues are shown by the light blue columns on the left-hand scale, which is in billions of US dollars, and profitability is the dark blue line on the right-hand scale, which shows the operating profit margin. As you can see, in the recession years of 2007, 2008 and 2009, revenues didn't really suffer. They grew a bit or at worst stayed flat, but profitability took a big fall, having built up nicely during the previous upturn. So the encouraging thing this year is that while revenues have edged up just over 2%, there's been a marked improvement in profitability for the major contractors. So thank you for watching. The top 200 listing is available in the July-August edition of International Construction, which you can download now from our website www.khl.com. To download, you need to go to the subscriptions page. The report is also available to buy as a standalone document from the information store. Thank you for watching.